Evening, folks. Welcome. Come gather round this here campfire with me. Let the crackling flames warm your soul as the night settles in. Out here in the stillness, under this canopy of stars, we find peace. The forest breathes with us tonight. A symphony of crickets and owls, our soundtrack. We're deep in the heart of Bigfoot country, where shadows dance and stories linger like the scent of pine. For generations, folks have whispered about the creature. A legend, some say. A protector of the woods, others claim. Tonight, we ain't here to prove or disprove. Tonight, we're here to listen. To lose ourselves in tales whispered round campfires just like this one. Stories passed down through time, each one a thread in the tapestry of Bigfoot lore. So settle in, friends. Let the worries of the day drift away like smoke on the wind. Open your heart to the mysteries that lie hidden beneath the moonlit leaves. Our journey into Bigfoot country is about to begin. Section 2, Whispers in the Woods. The forest holds its secrets close, but sometimes, under the right light, it whispers them to those who listen, those willing to believe in something bigger than themselves, something unseen yet ever-present. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the wild man of the woods. He goes by many names. A solitary creature, they say, rarely seen but often felt. A presence in the shadows, a rustle in the leaves, a footprint larger than any man could make. Some dismiss it as folklore, nothing more than tall tales spun by dreamers and fools. But others, those who felt the weight of unseen eyes upon them, they know different. They've heard the stories, felt the truth in their bones. Tonight we honor those stories, we give voice to the whispers in the woods. For in the Sharon we keep the legend alive. We acknowledge the mystery, the wonder that makes this place so special. Section 3, Shadows and Legends. Every shadow holds a story, every rustle of leaves, a potential encounter. Out here, the line between reality and imagination blurs, and that's where the magic lives, you see? In that space between what we know and what we feel. The stories we'll share tonight come from different souls, different corners of Bigfoot country. Each one unique, yet connected by a common thread, a respect for the wild, a belief in the unknown, and a healthy dose of that good old-fashioned fear that keeps us looking over our shoulders. We'll hear from hikers who stumbled upon something unexplainable deep in the woods, from campers who swore they heard something large moving just beyond the firelight, and maybe, just maybe, we'll hear from those who claim to have looked into the creature's eyes. Remember, these are just stories, but within every story, a kernel of truth resides. It's up to you to decide what to believe, what resonates with your own experiences. Section 4, Our Journey Begins. So sit back, relax, and let the fire warm you. Close your eyes if you'd like. Let my voice be your guide as we journey into the heart of Bigfoot country, a place where the trees whisper secrets and the shadows hold their breath. Tonight, we let go of the everyday. We embrace the mystery, the wonder, the possibility that something extraordinary might be walking among us, something ancient, powerful, and deeply connected to the land. Are you ready? Then let our journey begin. And if you enjoy these tales, well, be sure to tell a friend about our little campfire gathering. The more the merrier, that's what I always say. Now, where were we? Ah, yes, our first story. This here story, it was told to me by a fella I met up north years ago. An old logger he was, weathered as the bark on a hickory tree. Spent his whole life in these woods, knew every path, every creek, every holler. He swore by this story, said it happened to him one foggy morning just as the sun was peeking over the ridge. He was heading out to his favorite fishing hole, rod in one hand, thermos of coffee in the other. Said the fog was so thick that day, you could barely see 10 feet in front of you. He was walking along, minding his own business when he heard something moving up ahead. At first he thought it was just a deer, maybe a bear looking for berries, but the sound, it was too heavy for that. Each step sent a tremor through the ground like thunder rolling in the distance. He stopped dead in his tracks, heart thumping in his chest. He called out, asking who was there, but the only answer he got was the sound of his own voice echoing through the trees. He stood there for a moment, frozen in place, trying to pierce the veil of fog with his eyes. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the sound stopped. Silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the chirping of birds high above. A shape, massive and dark, moving through the trees at the edge of his vision. But he could tell it was tall, taller than any man he'd ever seen. Fear gripped him then, sent a shiver down his spine. It disappeared into the fog as silently as it had come. The old logger stood there for a long time, he told me, long after the shape had vanished. The fog started to lift then, and the sun broke through the trees, casting long shadows across the forest floor. And that's when he saw them. Footprints. Huge ones. Bigger than any man's foot, at least twice the size of his own. They were sunk deep into the soft earth, the edges clearly defined. He followed them for a ways, his heart still pounding in his chest. They led him to the edge of a creek where the tracks disappeared into the water. He stood there for a moment longer, looking out at the rippling current, wondering what he'd just seen. Was it real? Had he truly caught a glimpse of something unexplainable? Or was it just the fog playing tricks on his mind? He never did find out, but he never forgot that morning either. The old logger finished his story, took a sip of his coffee, and stared out at the trees. The fire crackled between us, and the only sound was the wind whistling through the leaves. Some folks, he said, they'd call me crazy. Say I imagined the whole thing, but I know what I saw that day. Or at least I know what I think I saw. He never went back to that fishing hole. Not after that morning. Said the memory of that encounter, it lingered in the air, a silent reminder of the mysteries that lie hidden in these woods. And me? Well, I never forgot his story. It's a reminder that there are things in this world, things we may never fully understand, things that make us question what we think we know and embrace the wonder of the unknown. This story comes from the heart of Appalachia, high up in the mountains where the peaks touch the clouds. I met a night watchman at an old sawmill. He was a solitary man, comfortable with the night. He told me stories that'd make your hair stand on end. But one story stood out. It happened on a night like this one. A full moon cast an eerie glow over the mill. He heard something moving in the darkness. At first he thought it was a deer or raccoon, but the sound was too heavy, too deliberate. Like something walking upright, careful not to make a sound. He stopped, his hand instinctively reaching for the flashlight on his belt. The air was still, thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. A howl, low and guttural, sent a shiver down his spine. Not a wolf, not a coyote, nothing earthly. He shined his flashlight in the direction of the sound, but there was nothing there. He took a step back, his heart pounding in his chest. With that howl still ringing in his ears, he wasn't so sure. He decided to head back to his cabin, to the safety of his kerosene lamp and warm fire. But as he turned to leave, he noticed something out of the corner of his eye. 2 points of light, like embers burning in the darkness. They were watching him from the edge of the woods, he said. Too high off the ground to be a bobcat, too close together to be a deer. He froze, his breath catching in his throat. He couldn't make out any features, not in the darkness, but he could feel those eyes on him, watching his every move. He stood there for what felt like an eternity, caught in the gaze of something he couldn't see or understand. The only sound was the beating of his own heart and the gentle rustle of leaves in the night breeze. Then, as quickly as they appeared, the eyes were gone. The darkness swallowed them whole, leaving him alone with his fear and the echo of that unearthly howl. The night watchman, he never forgot that night. He told me he'd felt a presence in those woods, something ancient and powerful. He said it wasn't a feeling of malice, not exactly. More like a sense of being observed, studied by something far older and wiser than himself. He never saw the creature again, not like that. But he said he often felt its presence in the woods, a shadow moving just beyond the reach of his flashlight beam. And he learned to respect that presence, to coexist with the unknown. He finished his tale, and we sat there for a while, the silence unbroken, but for the crackling of the fire. Sometimes the best stories are the ones that leave us with more questions than answers, the ones that remind us that the world is a vast and mysterious place, full of wonders we may never fully comprehend. Now settle back in your seats, folks, because our next tale, it's a little closer to home. This story, well, it's a mite different from the others. It ain't about fear or running or hiding in the shadows. It's about a different kind of encounter, one that speaks to the heart of what it means to connect with something bigger than ourselves. It happened to a woman I met a while back. A writer, she was, drawn to the quiet solitude of the mountains. Told me she found inspiration in the stillness of the woods, in the whispers of the wind through the trees. She was on a walk one evening, just as the sun was beginning to set. The air was cool and crisp, the sky ablaze with hues of orange and purple. She rounded a bend in the trail and stopped dead in her tracks. There, in the middle of the path, stood a figure. Tall and broad-shouldered it was, covered in a thick coat of dark hair. It was looking away from her, its head tilted slightly as if listening to the sounds of the forest. Section 2. Something in the shadows. For a moment she thought it was a bear, but then it turned its head and she saw its face. It wasn't a bear, not exactly. It was something else entirely, something she couldn't explain. She told me later that she wasn't scared, not in that moment. She felt a strange sense of peace wash over her, a calmness she'd never experienced before. It was as if time itself had stopped, and they were the only two beings in the entire world. The creature looked at her for a long moment, its dark eyes searching hers. She couldn't read its expression, couldn't tell if it was curious, wary, or something else altogether. And then, as slowly as it had turned to face her, it turned away again. It took a step back from the path, melting into the shadows beneath the trees. The woman stood there for a long time, she told me, long after the creature had disappeared. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of deep purple and indigo. And still, she stood there trying to make sense of what she'd just seen. She'd heard the stories, of course. Everyone who spent time in these mountains had, but she'd always dismissed them as folklore, as tall tales spun by lonely travelers. But now, standing there in the gathering darkness, she knew different. She knew that she'd seen something real, something extraordinary. She told me that encounter changed her, changed the way she saw the world. It taught her that there are things in this life, things we may never fully understand, that deserve our respect, our wonder, and our awe. It made her realize that the forest holds secrets, secrets that are not meant for everyone to know. But if we approach those secrets with an open heart and a humble spirit, they might just reveal themselves to us. Now I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking that this woman, she was crazy, that she imagined the whole thing. And that's all right. It's all right to be skeptical. It's all right to question what you don't understand. But I want you to consider something. What if she's right? What if there are things out there, things beyond our comprehension, that defy explanation? What if the creatures of our legends, the ones that haunt our campfire stories, are more than just figments of our imagination? And even if they ain't, even if they're nothing more than stories, they serve a purpose. They remind us that there are still mysteries in this world, still things that make us tremble with fear and wonder. And in a world that's become so predictable, so mundane, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe, just maybe, a little bit of fear is good for the soul. It keeps us humble, it keeps us grounded, and it reminds us that we ain't the only ones who walk this earth. The fire's burning low now, folks, just like the embers of these stories in our minds. We've traveled from the foggy north woods to the heart of Appalachia, listening to tales whispered round campfires for generations. Each story, a thread woven into the tapestry of Bigfoot lore. Some spoke of fear, of encounters that left folks breathless and uncertain. Others whispered of awe, of connecting with something ancient and unknowable in the depths of the woods. But all of them, every single one, spoke of the forest. A place of mystery where shadows dance and the line between reality and imagination blurs like the edge of a dream. The forest remembers these stories, even when we forget. It holds them close, in the rustle of leaves, the hoot of an owl, the crackle of a twig under a heavy, unseen foot. Out here, under the watching eyes of the stars, we're reminded that we ain't so different. We humans, from the creatures we tell stories about. We crave the unknown, the thrill of a shiver down our spines. We seek something bigger than ourselves, something to remind us that the world is still full of wonder. And whether Bigfoot is real or not, well, that's almost beside the point. The power of these stories, it lies in their ability to open our minds, to make us question, to make us see the world with fresh eyes, to remember what it was like to be a child, staring up at the dark sky and wondering what lay beyond. So tonight, as you drift off to sleep, let your mind wander back to these stories. Let yourself imagine just for a moment that something is out there, watching from the shadows, protecting the woods from those who would do it harm. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, if you listen closely enough, you might just hear the whisper of something walking in the woods, something large and ancient and full of a wisdom we're only just beginning to understand. It's getting late now, folks. Time for this old campfire to burn down to embers. Time for us to head back to our own warm beds and dream of shadowy forests and creatures that go bump in the night. But before you go, I'd be much obliged if you'd subscribe to my channel. Hit that like button too if you enjoy these tales. And if you know someone who loves a good campfire story, well, share this video with them. The more folks we can gather around the campfire, the brighter the flames of these stories will burn. And who knows what other mysteries we might uncover together in the darkness. Sleep tight, folks. And until next time, remember to keep looking up at the stars and wondering what might be looking back. Well, there you have it, folks. Our campfires dwindle down to embers now, glowing soft in the stillness. Just like the stories we shared, the warmth of them lingers, even as the night deepens. Out here in the quiet woods, it's easy to let go, to let the worries of the day fade away like the smoke from our fire. The forest, she's got a way of doing that to you, reminding you what truly matters, the simplicity of breathing, the sound of your own heartbeat, the feel of the earth beneath you, and maybe, just maybe, the awareness that you ain't alone out here. That something else might be listening to the silence too. But don't you fret none. Whatever's out there in the shadows, it's part of this grand old tapestry of life, just like you and me. We're all connected in ways we may never fully understand. So close your eyes now. Let your head sink back against your pillow. Imagine the scent of pine needles and damp earth filling your senses. Let the whisper of the wind through the trees lull you into a peaceful state. And if you happen to dream tonight, let your dreams take you walking through moonlit forests. Let yourself feel the mystery, the wonder, the awe that comes with knowing there's still so much out there beyond our understanding. Maybe you'll catch a glimpse of something moving through the trees, something large and silent and utterly wild. Or maybe you'll just feel the presence of something ancient and powerful, watching over you as you sleep. Either way, don't you fight it. Embrace the mystery. Let it fill you with a sense of peace and connection to something far greater than yourself. The night is a magical time, folks. A time for stories, for dreams, for the quiet whispers of the soul. It's a time to let go of the day's troubles and surrender to the peace that only darkness can bring. I hope these tales have brought you a measure of comfort, a sense of wonder, and maybe even a little bit of that good old-fashioned spine-tingling thrill. Remember, the world is a vast and mysterious place, full of beauty and wonder and creatures that spark our imaginations. So sleep well, my friends. Dream deep. And until we meet again around the campfire, may your nights be filled with the peace of the forest and the magic of the unknown.